September 18, 1944. WWII Island, Palau Group, Western Pacific. The sun beats down like a forge hammer on the jagged coral ridges, turning the air into a thick, humid soup laced with the acrid stench of cordite and rotting vegetation. You're there, crouched low behind a shattered outcrop of razor-sharp rock, the ground vibrating from distant artillery thuds. Sweat stings your eyes as you grip your M1 Garand, heart pounding in rhythm with the staccato chatter of machine guns echoing across the southern peninsula. But this isn't your fight. It's Private First Class Arthur Jackson's, a 19-year-old Marine from Portland, Oregon, assigned as an automatic rifleman to Company K, 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division. His lanky frame, topped with a helmet that's seen better days, hunches beside his squad mates, the weight of his Browning automatic rifle, bar for short, pressing into his shoulder like an old friend ready for trouble. The invasion had started 3 days earlier, on September 15th, with the roar of naval guns pounding the tiny coral atoll into what commanders promised would be a quick mop-up. Paliliu, just 6 miles long and 2 miles wide, was supposed to fall in 4 days, a stepping stone to the Philippines, denying the Japanese an airfield that could harass MacArthur's advance. But the intelligence was dead wrong. The island's 10,000 defenders, under Colonel Kunio Nakagawa, had burrowed into a labyrinth of caves, tunnels, and reinforced concrete pillboxes honeycombing the Yumurbergal Mountains, nicknamed Bloody Nose Ridge by the grunts who'd bleed on it. The coral terrain, pockmarked with sinkholes and razor edges, shredded boots and flesh alike, turning every step into agony. Heat exhaustion claimed men before bullets did. Temperatures soared past 110 degrees, and water rations evaporated faster than hope. Jackson's battalion had hit the beach under a hail of fire, wading through chest-deep water stained red with the blood of the first waves. Amphibious tractors, Amtraks, churned the surf, their .50 caliber mounts barking defiance as Japanese 47mm anti-boat guns zeroed in from hidden emplacements. By D-Day +3, the Marines had pushed inland, but progress stalled at the southern tip, where interlocking fields of fire from fortified positions turned open ground into kill zones. Jackson's platoon, led by Sergeant Mike O'Reilly, a grizzled veteran from Chicago with a perpetual scowl, had advanced under cover of dawn's gray light, weaving through blasted palm stumps and craters filled with brackish water. Their objective, a cluster of ridges overlooking the airfield, key to breaking the Japanese hold. Now, as the morning haze burns off, the platoon is pinned. 35 yards ahead, a massive concrete pillbox squats like a malevolent toad, its slit apertures spewing .30 caliber rounds from Type 96 light machine guns. The structure, reinforced with steel beams and coral rubble, measures 20 feet square, its walls 3 feet thick, impervious to small arms. Inside, Japanese soldiers of the 14th Infantry Division hunker down, their Arisaka rifles and Nambu pistols at the ready, faces smeared with camouflage and resolve. Flanking it are smaller caves, natural fortifications carved by eons of erosion, now bristling with snipers and grenade throwers. Every attempt to flank draws enfilading fire. 2 Marines lie sprawled in the open, their cries drowned by the din. "Stay down, damn it!" O'Reilly bellows, his voice cutting through the chaos as he signals for a radio operator. Private Tommy Hayes, a wiry kid from Texas with the platoon's SR-300 backpack radio, crawls forward, antenna whipping like a flag in the wind. Call for tanks, Shermans, or anything with a 75mm. But the response crackles back. Armor's bogged down in the mud 2 ridges over. Artillery's low on shells after yesterday's barrage. The platoon medic, Corporal Elias, Doc, Ramirez from Los Angeles, darts between rocks, bandaging a gut-shot lance corporal whose moans blend with the whine of ricochets. Jackson wipes grime from his bar's barrel, the 20-round magazine half empty from suppressing fire. At 6 feet 4 inches and 180 pounds, he's an unlikely storm of a man. Quiet, unassuming, but with eyes that burn like coals when the fight turns personal. Enlisted at 17 with a forged birth certificate, he'd trained at Camp Pendleton, mastering the bar's 550 rounds per minute roar, its .30-06 slugs punching through cover like divine judgment. But training didn't prepare for this. The metallic tang of blood in the air, the coral dust choking your throat, the way fear coils in your gut like a live wire. His squadmates, guys like PFC Bill Shorty Kowalski from Detroit, clutching his Thompson submachine gun, and Lance Corporal Frank DeLuca from New York, reloading his M1 carbine, exchange grim looks. A solo charge? Suicide. The manuals scream for combined arms. Mortars to soften, flamethrowers to flush, engineers with satchel charges to breach. Yet Jackson shifts, peering over the rock. The pillbox's blind spot, a shallow defile to the left, masked by a fallen log, catches his eye. Movement. A Japanese spotter ducking back into shadow. The air hums with tension, bullets snapping overhead like angry hornets. O'Reilly grabs his arm. Don't even think it, kid. We'll wait for support. But Jackson's jaw sets, the bar slung low. In that moment, the island's hellish symphony pauses, as if fate holds its breath. What happens next defies every rule of war. The moment stretches, taut as a tripwire. Sergeant O'Reilly's hand tightens on Jackson's sleeve, but the young Marine shrugs it off with a calm that borders on eerie. Cover me, he mutters, voice low but steady, the words almost lost in the roar of gunfire. Before anyone can argue, Jackson explodes from cover. He doesn't run in a straight line. No Marine idiotically charges head-on into interlocking fields of fire. Instead, he angles hard left, using the shallow defile he'd spotted earlier, the fallen palm log providing scant concealment. His long legs devour the coral ground in powerful strides, bar cradled at hip level like a natural extension of his body. Coral shards slice at his leggings, but he doesn't slow. Bullets whip past, kicking up puffs of white dust. One round pings off his helmet with a metallic ring that makes his ears sing. He keeps moving, constant, unpredictable motion, the one thing no static defender can perfectly track. 30 yards out, the main pillbox looms larger. Its firing slit a dark moss-spitting orange muzzle flashes. Jackson drops to a knee behind a low coral ridge, the bar barking in short, controlled bursts. 3 to 5 rounds each, the heavy .30-06 slugs slamming into the aperture. He doesn't aim to kill through the slit. He aims to suppress, to force heads down, to buy seconds. Inside the bunker, the Japanese gunners flinch, their Type 96 chatter stuttering as they duck. He rolls left again, scrambling forward in a low crawl that uses every dip and crater. 20 yards now. The air reeks of burnt powder and hot metal. A Japanese grenade arcs out from a flanking cave, black egg tumbling end over end. Jackson spots it mid-flight, twists, and fires a burst that detonates it in the air with a sharp crack of shrapnel. Fragments whine past his ear. One nicks his cheek, drawing a thin line of blood he ignores. At 10 yards, he surges upright and charges the final distance. The pillbox entrance, a narrow steel door reinforced with coral blocks, sits slightly ajar from earlier shelling. Jackson doesn't hesitate. He slams his shoulder against it, bursting inside amid the dim, smoke-choked interior lit by flickering oil lamps. The stench hits like a fist. Sweat, gun oil, fear. 12 Japanese soldiers whirl toward him. Machine gunners, riflemen, a sergeant barking orders in rapid Japanese. Jackson's bar comes up in one fluid motion. He sweeps left to right, the weapon bucking like a living thing, 20-round magazine emptying in a deafening roar. Slugs tear through uniforms, splinter wood benches, punch into concrete. Bodies jerk and fall. Screams cut short. He drops the empty mag, slams in a fresh one from his belt without looking, and keeps firing. Controlled pairs now, headshots on the survivors scrambling for cover. A Japanese corporal lunges with a bayonet-fixed Arasaka. Jackson sidesteps, drives the bars but into the man's throat, then finishes him with a point-blank burst. Another tries to swing a Nambu pistol. Jackson kicks it away, stomps the wrist, and ends the threat. In under 30 seconds, the bunker falls silent except for the ringing in his ears and the drip of blood on concrete. 35 enemy dead, he counts them later methodically as training demands. But there's no time to savor. Outside, the flanking positions open up again, angry streams of fire raking the entrance. Jackson grabs 2 white phosphorus grenades from a fallen Marine's bandolier, brought forward by Shorty Kowalski, who'd crawled up under covering fire from the platoon, and hurls them back out the door. The grenades burst in brilliant white flares, smoke boiling up like a curtain, buying him precious cover. He emerges coughing, eyes streaming, but already moving. 2 smaller pillboxes, hastily built log and coral affairs, sit 50 yards apart, their gunners now splitting fire between the smoke-shrouded main position and the Marines still pinned back. Jackson doesn't pause. He sprints toward the nearest, using the smoke as a shield, zigzagging through kanai grass that slices at his arms like tiny knives. The second pillbox falls much the same way. Suppressed fire from the bar to pin defenders, a dash to the blind side, grenades through the firing port, WP first to burn and blind, then high-explosive satchel charges scavenged from an engineer pack earlier in the day. Explosions ripple across the ridge. Concrete cracks, steel twists, screams echo then fade. More Japanese fall, 10 here, 8 there, bringing his tally climbing. Back at the platoon position, Sergeant O'Reilly stares in disbelief through binoculars. Holy hell, he breathes. The kid's doing it. Doc Ramirez patches a wounded man, shaking his head. He's not human. Shorty Kowalski, Thompson smoking, grins fiercely. That's our barman. But the Japanese aren't done. Word spreads through their lines, via runners ducking through tunnels and shouted commands in the caves. Reinforcements move. 40 soldiers, a reinforced platoon from a nearby reserve company, converging on the ridge to crush this lone demon in marine green, who dares assault concrete with nothing but speed, aggression, and a smoking automatic rifle. Jackson, sweat-soaked and streaked with blood, his own and theirs, pauses behind a shattered palm trunk to reload. His breath comes in controlled gasps. The bar's barrel glows faintly from sustained fire. He knows they're coming. He can hear the shouts, the clatter of boots on coral. The ridge, once a stalemate, now teeters on the edge of decision. And he's not finished yet. Jackson exhales slowly, the bar's barrel still warm against his forearm. The smoke from the second pillbox curls upward in lazy spirals, mixing with the acrid haze that hangs over the southern ridges like a funeral shroud. His ears ring from the sustained fire, but beneath the high-pitched whine he hears them coming, boots crunching coral, low voices in urgent Japanese, the metallic clink of bayonets being fixed. 40 men. A full reinforced platoon, pulled from the reserve trenches dug into the reverse slope of the next ridge over. They move fast, disciplined, fanning out in a wide crescent to envelop the smoking ruins where one Marine has already torn apart 3 fortified positions. He doesn't wait to be surrounded. Jackson shifts left, dropping into a narrow drainage gully barely deep enough to cover his prone body. The coral bites into his elbows and knees as he low crawls toward a cluster of blasted palm stumps 50 yards west of the last pillbox. Every few feet he pauses, listening. The Japanese are closing the net, 2 squads advancing frontally to pin him, a third sweeping around his right flank to cut off retreat. They shout coordinates, adjusting their advance with the precision of men who have practiced this drill 100 times in Manchuria and China. Their officer, a lieutenant with a drawn Nambu pistol, gestures sharply. Machine gun teams drop into position behind low coral walls, barrels trained on the smoking ground Jackson just vacated. He reaches the palm stumps, rolls onto his back, and checks his remaining magazines. For full, 1 partial, about 80 rounds, 2 WP grenades, 1 frag, a combat knife strapped to his chest, and the bar itself, its wooden stock slick with sweat and blood. Not enough for a stand-up fight. But he never planned one. The first wave, 15 men, breaks cover and rushes the ruined pillbox entrance, bayonets gleaming in the harsh sunlight. They expect to find a corpse or a wounded man. Instead they find silence. Jackson lets them get within 20 yards, then rises just enough to expose his shoulders and the bar's muzzle. He fires a long, traversing burst, 10 rounds sweeping left to right at waist height. 5 Japanese crumple instantly. The rest dive for cover, screaming. One man, hit in the thigh, crawls backward, dragging a useless leg. Jackson shifts aim, puts 2 more rounds into him. Mercy in the only form war allows. The machine guns open up in retaliation. Tracers streak overhead, stitching the palm stumps into splinters. Jackson drops flat, coral dust exploding around him like talcum. He rolls right, then left, never staying still longer than 2 heartbeats. The gunners can't lock on. Their bursts chew empty ground. He uses the rhythm of their fire, 3-second bursts, then pause to traverse and moves during the lull. He breaks cover again, sprinting diagonally across open ground toward a shallow sinkhole 30 yards away. Bullets snap at his heels. 1 round tears the heel off his left boot. Another grazes his calf, burning like a hot wire. He ignores it, dives headfirst into the depression, landing hard on his chest. The sinkhole, barely 6 feet across, offers perfect defilade. He crawls to the far lip, peers out. The flanking squad is moving now, trying to close the trap. 10 men in a loose skirmish line, advancing cautiously, rifles at the ready. Jackson waits until they're committed 40 yards out, then pops up and unleashes another burst. The bar's muzzle climb is brutal after so much firing, but he muscles it down, walking rounds across the line. For fall. The rest scatter, some diving behind rocks, others retreating in panic. Their lieutenant screams orders, voice cracking with fury. A grenade sails toward the sinkhole short. It bursts harmlessly 20 feet away, showering Jackson with coral chips. He doesn't give them time to regroup. He vaults out of the hole, charges straight at the broken skirmish line. The Japanese hesitate, shock at seeing a single man running toward them instead of away. That half-second costs them. Jackson closes to 15 yards, drops to 1 knee, and fires from the hip in sweeping arcs. The bar roars, emptying the magazine in a continuous 12-second storm. Bodies spin and drop. Uniforms shred. Blood sprays in bright arcs across white coral. He slams in his last full magazine without breaking stride, keeps moving, zigzagging through the dead and dying. The lieutenant steps forward, Nambu raised. Jackson sees the flash of the pistol an instant before the crack. The round punches through his left shoulder, hot pain, but no arterial hit. He staggers, recovers, levels the bar one-handed and fires a 3-round burst. The lieutenant's chest explodes. He collapses like a marionette with cut strings. The remaining Japanese, perhaps 20 now, waver. Some fire wildly. Others begin to fall back toward the safety of the caves. Jackson presses the advantage. He sprints toward their new rally point, a low coral berm 20 yards away, using fallen bodies for momentary cover. He hurls his last WP grenade into their midst. White smoke and burning phosphorus erupt. Men scream as the searing chemical eats through cloth and flesh. In the choking white curtain, Jackson moves like a ghost. He closes to knife range. What follows is 7 minutes of unrelenting violence. Close, personal, merciless. A Japanese soldier rises from the smoke with bayonet leveled. Jackson parries with the bar, drives the muzzle into the man's mouth, pulls the trigger. Another swings a rifle butt. Jackson ducks, slashes with his combat knife across the throat, then finishes with a point-blank shot. A third tries to grapple. Jackson headbutts him, feels the nose shatter, then shoots him through the chest as he falls. He keeps moving, never static, never predictable. The bar runs dry. He drops it, draws the .45 pistol from his hip holster, and continues the slaughter. Headshots, center mass, whatever presents itself. Bodies pile in the smoke and dust. Screams turn to gurgles, then silence. When the smoke finally drifts away, 40 Japanese lie scattered across 50 yards of coral, most within the last 2 minutes of the fight. Jackson stands alone in the center of the carnage, chest heaving, blood streaming from his shoulder wound and the graze on his calf. His uniform hangs in tatters. Coral has shredded his hands and forearms. The bar lies nearby, barrel still smoking. Behind him, the platoon has advanced under the cover of his rampage. Sergeant O'Reilly reaches him first, eyes wide. "Jesus, Jackson, you okay?" The 19-year-old looks at the sergeant, then at the field of bodies, then back. "I think I got 'em all, Sarge." He sways, the adrenaline dump hitting like a truck. Doc Ramirez rushes up, already tearing open a sulfa packet. But the ridge is clear. The stalemate is broken. Word of the one-man assault races back through the battalion, then the regiment, then division. Major General William Rupertus, commander of the 1st Marine Division, will soon hear the name Arthur Jackson, and the impossible math of 1 Marine against 54. The sun has climbed higher now, turning the coral into a blinding white furnace. Heat shimmers rise from the bodies strewn across the ridge like broken dolls. The metallic scent of blood mixes with the sharp bite of phosphorus smoke still drifting in lazy wisps. Private First Class Arthur Jackson stands motionless in the center of it all. The empty .45 hanging loose in his right hand, left arm hanging useless at his side where the bullet went through the meat of his shoulder. Blood drips steadily from his fingertips onto the coral, darkening small patches to rust red. His face is a mask of coral dust, sweat, and smeared blood. Some his, most not. His eyes, though, remain sharp, scanning the ridgeline for any twitch of movement. Sergeant Mike O'Reilly reaches him first, boots crunching over spent brass and shattered coral. The veteran NCO's face is pale beneath the grime. He's seen plenty of death in 3 years of war, but nothing quite like this. He stops a few feet away, as if afraid to break whatever spell still holds the boy upright. "Jackson," he says, voice rough. "You hit. Shoulder. Legs grazed. I'll live." The words come out flat, almost conversational. Doc Ramirez arrives seconds later, medical bag slapping against his hip. He drops to one knee, already ripping open a battle dressing. "Sit your ass down, Marine. Now." Jackson doesn't argue. He lowers himself onto a chunk of blasted concrete, wincing as the movement pulls at torn muscle. Ramirez works fast. Sulfa powder into the shoulder wound, pressure dressing, morphine syringe jabbed into the thigh. Jackson stares straight ahead the whole time, watching the platoon fan out to secure the ridge. Shorty Kowalski and Frank DeLuca move among the Japanese dead, checking for threats, collecting weapons, salvaging ammunition. Every few seconds one of them glances back at Jackson with something between awe and unease. O'Reilly squats beside him. "How many?" Jackson exhales through his nose. 54. Give or take. Lost count toward the end. The sergeant lets out a low whistle. "Christ almighty, you took out 54 Japs. By yourself. In, what, an hour and a half? 90 minutes, maybe?" Jackson shrugs with his good shoulder. "Felt longer." Word spreads like wildfire through the company. Runners carry the story back to battalion headquarters dug into the reverse slope of the next ridge. By noon, officers from regiment are climbing the coral to see for themselves. A major in crisp utilities, too clean for the front, stands at the edge of the killing ground, binoculars in hand, counting bodies in silence. He turns to the battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Hunter Hurst. "That's him?" the major asks. Hurst nods toward Jackson, now sitting with his back against a palm stump while Doc finishes bandaging. "That's him." The major removes his helmet, wipes sweat from his brow. Division wants a full report. Names, positions, timeline, everything. General Rupertus is already asking questions. Hurst glances at Jackson again. The 19-year-old is staring at nothing, jaw working slowly as if chewing on thoughts too big to swallow. "He'll give you the truth," Hurst says quietly. "Whether you believe it or not is up to you." By late afternoon, the ridge is secure enough for litter teams to bring up fresh water and ammunition. Jackson refuses to be evacuated. "I can still walk," he tells the corpsman who tries to strap him to a stretcher. Plenty of fight left. They compromise. He stays forward with the platoon, shoulder slung, but allowed to carry his bar, now cleaned and reloaded by Shorty Kowalski, who has appointed himself permanent ammo bearer. As dusk settles, painting the sky bloody orange, the platoon digs in along the newly won ground. Foxholes are scraped out of coral with entrenching tools and bayonets. Machine guns are sighted to cover the approaches, trip flares and booby traps rigged in the likely avenues. Jackson shares a fighting hole with O'Reilly. The sergeant hands him a canteen. Jackson drinks deeply, then passes it back. "You scared the hell out of us back there," O'Reilly admits after a long silence. "Thought you were gonna get yourself killed 50 different ways." "Thought about it," Jackson replies. "Decided not to." O'Reilly chuckles despite himself. "That simple, huh?" Jackson looks out over the darkening ridges, where Japanese flares begin to pop in the distance, bathing the coral in ghostly green light. "Wasn't thinking much at all, Sarge. Just moving. Kept moving. They couldn't hit what wasn't standing still." The sergeant studies him for a long moment. "You know they're gonna pin a medal on you for this. Probably the Medal of Honor if the brass has any sense." Jackson's mouth twists, not quite a smile. "Don't need a medal. Just want to finish the job." They sit in silence as night closes in. Somewhere out in the darkness, Japanese voices murmur, preparing counterattacks. Artillery rumbles far off, naval guns from the task force offshore. The island is still very much contested. 74 days of hell lie ahead for the 1st Marine Division. But on this small piece of coral on September 18, 1944, the math has changed. One man with a bar and unbreakable will turn a killing field into a graveyard for the enemy, and gave an entire regiment breathing room to push deeper into the nightmare of Bloody Nose Ridge. Jackson leans his head back against the dirt parapet, eyes half closed. The pain in his shoulder throbs in time with his heartbeat, but it's a distant thing now. He's already thinking ahead, to the next ridge, the next pillbox, the next moment he'll have to move, because stopping means dying. And Arthur Jackson has no intention of stopping. Night falls hard on Peleliu, the kind of dark that presses against your eyeballs. No moon tonight, just the sickly green pop of Japanese star shells drifting overhead, turning the coral into a moonscape of shifting shadows. In the fighting hole, Arthur Jackson lies on his back, good arm cradling the bar across his chest like a child with a favorite toy. The morphine has dulled the fire in his shoulder to a low simmer, but sleep won't come. Every time he closes his eyes, he sees movement. A bayonet glinting, a grenade tumbling, a face twisting in the instant before the .30-06 takes it apart. He keeps them open instead, staring at the black sky pierced by tracer arcs. Sergeant O'Reilly sits opposite, back against the parapet, Thompson across his knees. He's been quiet for an hour, but now he speaks, voice pitched just above a whisper. "They're already writing you up, kid. Battalion S1 has a typewriter going. Witnesses, timelines, body counts verified by 3 different officers. They're calling it the single most destructive individual action they've seen on this rock." Jackson doesn't answer right away. A Japanese 81mm mortar round whistles in from the north, detonating 200 yards away with a flat crack that sends coral fragments pattering down like rain. Both men duck instinctively, then relax when no shrapnel follows. "Don't care about the paperwork," Jackson finally says. "Just want the next ridge cleared so we can get off this damn island." O'Reilly snorts softly. "You and every other swinging dick here. But you gave us the ridge, Jackson. That's not nothing. That's everything for right now." Dawn breaks gray and wet. Unusual rain for Peleliu, turning dust to sticky mud that clings to boots and weapons like glue. The platoon moves out at 0630, Jackson walking point despite the bandages and the sling Doc Ramirez tried and failed to make him wear. He carries the bar one-handed when he has to, switching to the .45 for close work. The Japanese have pulled back during the night, leaving booby-trapped caves and sniper teams to slow the advance. Jackson clears 2 more positions before noon, flamethrower teams brought up to burn out the stubborn ones. Adding another dozen confirmed kills to the tally, no one is bothering to keep secret anymore. By September 20th, the story has reached the deck of the command ship Mount McKinley. Major General William H. Rupertus, 1st Marine Division commander, reads the after-action report in silence, then sets it down and looks at his operations officer. 1 Marine, 90 minutes, 54 enemy killed, 3 pillboxes reduced, ridge secured. Rupertus pauses. "You believe it?" The colonel nods. Multiple eyewitnesses, photographic evidence of the bodies, captured documents confirming the unit strength he engaged. Checks. Rupertus exhales through his nose. Then put him in for the Medal of Honor. Fast track it. I want every man in this division to know what one of their own did here. The recommendation moves with wartime speed. By the time the 7th Marines are pulled off the line on October 15th, exhausted, depleted, but victorious, Jackson's name is already on the fast boat to Washington. He doesn't know it yet. He's too busy helping carry wounded off the beach, too busy trying to scrub the coral grit and blood out of every crease in his skin. The fighting for Peleliu drags on until November 27, 1944. Total American casualties: 1,720 killed, 7,000 plus wounded. Japanese losses: nearly 10,900 dead, only 200 taken prisoner. The island, once deemed vital for an airfield to support MacArthur's return to the Philippines, is bypassed almost immediately after capture. The strip is never used for heavy bombers. Historians will later call it one of the costliest and least strategically necessary battles of the Pacific War. But on Peleliu, the men who fought there don't care about grand strategy. They care about the 19-year-old from Oregon who charged concrete with a bar and refused to stop moving. They care about the ridge that stopped being a graveyard because one man decided it wouldn't be. January 1945. Pearl Harbor Naval Hospital. Jackson, shoulder still stiff but healing, stands in front of a Navy photographer in crisp dress blues. The Medal of Honor citation is read aloud. The heavy blue ribbon and gold star are pinned to his chest by Admiral Chester Nimitz himself. Cameras flash. Reporters scribble. Jackson's face remains expressionless. Same quiet intensity he carried onto that coral ridge 4 months earlier. He speaks only once during the ceremony, when a journalist asks why he did it. "Platoon was pinned," he says simply. "Someone had to move. I moved." After the flashbulbs die, he returns to the ward, removes the medal, places it carefully in the top drawer of his locker, and goes back to sleep. The war isn't over. There are still islands to take, still ridges to climb. But somewhere deep in the 1st Marine Division, and later in the entire Corps, the name Arthur Jackson becomes shorthand for what raw aggression, perfect timing, and relentless forward momentum can do against impossible odds. He never speaks much about Peleliu again. Not in interviews, not in reunions, not even to his own children years later. The island took something from every man who fought there. From Jackson it took silence. Yet on September 18, 1944, for 90 unforgettable minutes, that silence roared louder than any artillery barrage. And the coral still remembers. Type continue to generate the next section.